Welcome everybody, this is Larry Levinson and we're going to go ahead and start our next session, session number 3, looking into email marketing. Best practices for email marketing, why this is important, and how to write both single emails, email campaigns, and automate the whole process. So we'll be covering a lot of materials today, and I hope you have lots of questions. I've muted everybody this time. So if you have questions, put them in the chat pane, and I will get to them at some point during this hour. So moving right ahead, we talked about calls to action and landing pages. There's a prospect that comes to your website, sees a calls to action, clicks on it, goes to a landing page, reads the benefits of getting that item, fills out a form, and becomes a lead. So we're all probably pretty familiar with that concept at this point. So now you have a prospect you can talk to. What happens next? Well, as we said back in the first session, this is a new method of internet marketing. We've talked about the attract phase and the convert phase. Now we're working on the close phase. And the main thing we'll be using in the close phase as a tool is email marketing. So let me give you some statistics, and I threw this in here not just for your own education, but if you need to go to someone else to get permission to do some more email marketing, these will be some really helpful statistics for you to know and be able to share with them. Average conversion rate of a web visitor is 2 to 4%. So that means of all the people that come to your website, only 2 to 4% of them click on a call to action and give up their name and email address. Very low. So that's one reason why I often talk to people about getting a higher volume of traffic, because that's the conversion rate. However, if we're using email, the click-through rate from email is typically anywhere from 14 to 60%. Now I know 60 is high, I'll mention that in a minute. But 14%, if you're getting a 14% click-through rate on email, you're in the ballpark. If you're getting 20 to 30%, you're way above average. And we actually, back when I owned a marketing agency, we actually had one email that every year produced a 60% click-through rate. It was complete insanity. However, how many of those leads were good leads for us? Not so many. So, if you're in the 14 to 20% range, you're doing great. Any more than that, you get a straight A. Email marketing isn't easy. 63% of marketers say generating traffic and leads is their top challenge. However, email is 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined in helping your business acquire new customers. Pretty important. And more than 60% of marketers use mass email blasts to stay in touch with their customers. 2/3 of all emails are read on either smartphones or tablets. Why is this important? Because as you're writing your emails, you need to make sure they're formatted appropriately so that people who are using smartphones, whether they're iOS or Android or tablets, can easily read your email, click on any buttons or links, etc. And lastly, a study from the Direct Marketing Association reveals that email marketing results in an average $45 of ROI for every dollar spent. So if you were going to give me $1 and I was going to give you back $45, how many times a day would you like to do that? Probably a lot. So email is a very high converting, very effective way of reaching people, of nurturing new leads to become great customers for you. So there's a lot of things on this slide. With email, you can do all these things in the left column. You can build credibility, generate new calls, strengthen relationships, improve communication, etc. Again, this is for you as well as for anybody who you want to go to get permission to do more email marketing. So there's a long list of what's going to happen with email. Looking at the top right, there's 2 ways that emails get sent, and we're going to talk about both of them today. One is what I call an email campaign. And an email campaign is generally what happens after someone converts on your offer and you've sent them the offer with a little thank you note. They've given you permission to start writing to them by email in this process, just by the process of signing up. So use that and set up a stream of emails that go out to them on a regular basis, maybe once a week, maybe a couple times a week, as a one-to-one email. But it could be fully automated, so you only have to set it up once and never touch it again. We're going to talk more about that. The other kind of email that some people call a campaign, I call an email blast. That's a one-to-many. So for example, let's say you've written a new ebook and you want to let all of your clients know about it. That would be a one-off, one-to-many email where you'd email all of your clients and say, hey, look at my new ebook, come check it out, download it here, here's the link, etc., etc., etc. So two different kinds of emails, an email campaign or an email blast. And the nice thing about email is you can learn what works, you get immediate feedback, you can get started quickly with little or no expense. It's a great return on your time, and you need to remember to deliver value with every email communication. So let's go through some best practices. There are a lot of best practices. I'm going to hit one for each different topic area, if you will. And you'll be wanting to go back and review these, I'm sure. So first of all, writing email is really pretty easy. Underneath all these best practices, it's pretty easy. Be personable, write like you normally talk, be friendly, and be helpful. How easy is that? So it's important to write like you normally talk. Don't come off like a stiff shirt that only says things in a very corporate way. Just be yourself. All right, first best practice. Send email from your name. Don't send it from info@. Send it from your name. Not Sue Grant's name either. I don't know why I picked her. That's my sister. Personalize your email. So start your email like you're writing to a friend or a colleague. I, by the way, do not recommend all 6 of these starts. But you could use Dear John. You could use Hi John. Hello John might work. I like just plain John. I don't think I'd go with Hey John or Yo J-Man. But I've seen that before, so I'm just putting it up there. In terms of personalizing your email, don't just use their name at the beginning, but you really want to talk about the value to them of whatever it is this email is about. So use the words your, you, and yours a lot. Use short paragraphs. Use bullets to make it very quickly readable. So you want to keep your email short, simple, readable. Don't use Comic Sans like this font is here. Don't use colors. Don't highlight phrases. And don't be weird. So I have an attorney friend of mine who consistently writes extraordinarily long emails as if he's still presenting to the jury and uses a yellow highlighter, electronically of course, to highlight phrases throughout the email. And I get those and I don't read them. And I've told him, but he still sends them. Anyway, don't do that. Your subject line. This is the single most important part of your email. And typically, I write the subject line after I write the email, because whatever I think the subject line is going to be might be a little different by the time I write the email. So you want the subject line to be interesting enough to be for them to open the email. Sorry for the typos there in that sentence. Research shows that short subject lines of 70 characters or less get the highest open rates. Also, you can use a number in the subject line or ask a question if that's appropriate. So using a number, like, I'll give you an example, but like 11 ways you can blah, blah, blah. That would be an example of that. We'll talk about the question too in a few minutes. So email subject lines that include the words thank you have the highest above average engagement levels according to Adestra. And emails that include the first name of the recipient in their subject line had a higher click-through rate than emails that did not, according to HubSpot. So let's talk about that one for just a second. In your subject line, you could, for example, if you were emailing me, you could put Larry, comma, is it time for us to talk? Or whatever your subject is. But put a Larry, comma at the beginning. That gets a higher click-through rate. Content. Keep the content really straightforward. Don't give them your entire message. That's what my attorney friend's problem is. Don't give them the entire message. Keep it short. Keep it simple. Give them a link or links that take them where you want to go next. Your email needs to be just enough to explain the value and benefit that they're going to get by following your instructions and clicking the link. Where does that link go? It goes to a blog post, it goes to your website, it goes to a landing page, whatever is going to be appropriate for what you're asking them to do. However, you only want to link to one thing in the email, one thing. Tell them one thing to do. You can tell them 3 times. I often use 2 or 3 links to the same item. Maybe for a webinar, maybe there's a register now link, a register now button, and a don't miss out text link. And all of those go to the same place. So use 2 to 4 links in every email, all based around getting to do one thing. Go to your blog, your website, your landing page, whatever it is you want them to do. And make sure there's lots of white space in your email. Also, don't use banners, don't use theme templates. These are simple, easy, friendly emails that should all look like they're coming directly from you, not from some institution. If you're doing institutional email, that's different. You could ask a question. You could start an email by saying, wondering if you'll ever be able to retire? Or are you worried about the rising cost of education? So if they're concerned about that question, that hooks them and they'll read the email and likely click. But we don't need to be original in all this. We can use other people's content sometimes. If you use someone else's content, give them credit and feel free to summarize an article and link to the full thing. So if I read an article about the rising cost of college education, I could ask a question, are you worried about the rising cost of education? And then in the next paragraph, I could talk about Dorothy Day's new article on the rising cost of education that was published in Forbes. And you can, I really like it because it discusses point A, point B, point C, whatever. And you can learn more by clicking here and reading the full article. Perfectly acceptable for an email. Be clear again about the one thing you want them to do. Now, here's an exception to the one thing. If you're using MailChimp or a similar product, and there's a forward to a friend feature, then it's okay to add a PS, like, think that this could be helpful to someone you know, please forward it to a friend. And that forward to a friend phrase is linked and allows some magic to happen. In MailChimp, what happens is that instead of this email addressed to you being forwarded to a friend, pressing that link creates a brand new email right out of MailChimp addressed to their friend from you. So it's a bit of magic that happens. So it's like you found an email that you liked. You found an offer in an email that you liked, and you read the email, liked it. You thought, oh, Larry would really like this. So you click forward to a friend, enter Larry Levinson, and enter Larry at driverevenue.marketing, and MailChimp will send me a mail from you to me with the content of the same email that you just saw. Magical. And it works really well. Do lots of people use it? No. Is it powerful when they do use it? Absolutely. When do you send your emails? This has been discussed ad nauseum. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of data. However, let's go through a couple things. Research shows that emails sent in the morning have a slightly higher open rate. So it's a good time to send something out. Invitations to an event, particularly. Late afternoon has a higher click-through rate, which means it's a good time to send out a survey or a teaser about a new blog post. Okay, are those two things engraved in stone? No, they are not. So the best thing is to think about your client's day and tailor what you send and when you say it, send it to them. Now, you might have noticed that I don't send you reminders about these calls on Mondays, because Mondays, we're getting back to work, and this Tuesday would be the same thing. This coming Tuesday, the day after Labor Day. We're getting back to work, our heads in a swirl, we got too much to do, not enough time to do it, and emails don't get responded to very well on Monday. Same thing goes with Friday, late Friday afternoon particularly. We're checked out. We're not into our emails. We're not into some guy that wants us to read his blog post. We're gone. So keep your emails in the middle of the week or the weekend. You may find, particularly in your business, that weekends are a great time to send email. I've got time on the weekend. I'm leisurely, let's say it's Sunday afternoon, I'm leisurely catching up on my emails from last week that I didn't attend to, and bing, there's your email right at the top of the stack. And I've got time to respond right now to Sunday afternoon. So emails might be a good time. Test, test, test. Try it, see what happens. If you do an email blast to your database, that'd be one email out to everybody, and you send that on a weekday, make it a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the next time you send an offer to your same group, blast it out on the weekend, see if there's a difference. That's not a lot of data, but it would begin to give you some indication of what might be the best day of the week to reach people. So let's talk a little bit about, I mentioned the open rate and the click-through rate. Let's understand what they are. How many clients open the email? That's the open rate. An open rate is a function of the subject line or the time of day you send it. I should say, and the time of day you send it. But mainly it's a function of the subject line. So if your subject line doesn't capture my interest, I am not going to open it. That's open rate. Click-through rate. How many of them click on the link in the email? That's the click-through rate. And that depends on your messaging or the relevance to my situation if I'm the person you're reaching out to. So if you sent out, again, that email about cost of college tuition going up, and my kids have already graduated college, are married, and have no children yet, so I don't have any grandchildren to think about for college, you know, that article isn't so interesting to me. So click-through rate, impacted on your messaging and on the relevance. Both of these two tracking tools are built into almost every email automation platform, so you don't need to worry about it. The reports are there, but that's what those two things mean, and those are the two things you really want to keep an eye on. So here's an example of a good email. It's from John at ABC Financial. We've got his email address there. It's to Bob Young with his email address. The subject is top 7 mistakes college kids make with their money. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And it's addressed to me and my wife. Hi, Bob and Ann. Hope you're enjoying this great summer weather. Oh, it's personalized. It doesn't just have my name in there because some computer put it there. Summer weather. He's actually talking to me. I know with September approaching, the students are preparing to head back to college. Thought you'd find this article helpful. Here's the link to the article. Enjoy, signed, signature file, and in this case, a PS. Think that this could be helpful to other people that you know? Forward to a friend. Great article, or great email. If it had been a longer email, if it had been multiple paragraphs, I would say you need multiple links. Not necessarily one link per paragraph. That would be kind of weird. But you would consider possibly a second link on a longer email. But a really short email, I love it. It's fast, it's easy, I can digest it right away. I make a quick decision whether I'm interested or not, and either I click or I don't, and I'm on with my day. But here you've been nice and helpful to me. You've acknowledged that we're enjoying great weather. and you sent me an article. Cool. Here's another example. I don't expect you to read this one. So this is an organization I work really closely with that has a frequently asked question list of 24 questions, which is kind of long, but that's what they've got. And so they took 20 of these questions, turned them into an email. And they send these emails out every 3 days to anyone who's contacted them about being licensed or has just asked a general question and is not licensed. This is a licensing organization. So you'll see on the left that one day after the subscribers were manually added to the workflow, manually, not really. They were forced in there when they filled out a form asking a question on the website that automatically added them to the workflow. So they get the first email. 3 days after that, they get the second email. 3 days after that, they get the third. 3 days after that, 3 days after that, until we've gone through 20 emails or until they opt out of the sequence. So each email looks very much like this email on the right. Ignore this little email icon thing in the corner. That's for the slides. That's not in the email. So each email looks like this. The subject line is the question that's the FAQ question. In this case, what protections are provided for clients of PMA licensees? So, Jim. And then the question is repeated. What protections are provided for clients of PMA licensees? Now, why is this important? Because this is one of the top questions that everybody always asks. What are the protections for me? Just like with you when you made a list of the top 10 questions. So this works really, really well. And since in this case, the FAQs were on the website, we just took exactly what was there, pasted it into the email, ended it with questions about licensing with the PMA, give me a call, and then Ken signs it, and I took off his phone numbers and whatnot so you guys don't bother him with questions about his emails. So there's 20 of those stacked up. They go out essentially twice a week. So that would be, what, 10 weeks of emails. After that amount of time, they're either going to become licensed or unsubscribe. And what we found was that A, this shortened the licensing conversations dramatically, and secondly, increased the number of people that contacted the PMA for information and then got licensed. So it's a very efficient process. It's all automated. We set it up once, it just runs. So that's an example of an individual email campaign that people, I'll say, subscribe to, give their permission for, would be another way of saying it, when they fill out a form. Now, in this case, did the PMA say on the form, hey, do you want a list of all of our facts coming to your email box for the next 10 weeks? No, they didn't say that. But because someone came to the website, filled out a form requesting information, well, here's a lot of information, and we're going to just keep sending it to you until you cry uncle or sign up. Good. So how do you do all this magic? There's lots of email marketing tools out there. I recommend MailChimp. Why? It's affordable, it's flexible, and it's easy. And this is not an affiliate link. I'm not involved with any affiliate relationships with MailChimp. I like their forever free plan. Let me tell you a little bit about it beyond what's written here. First of all, you can have up to 2,000 subscribers on your list. So what does that mean? If you have 4 different lists inside MailChimp, and you've got 1,500 in one, 700 in another, 300 in a third, I don't remember how many in the fourth, that could still be 2,000 total subscribers because some of those lists may have duplicate names on them. So again, going back to the PMA, they've got 3,500 names on email lists, but they just yesterday broke that 2,000 limit. So you can have a lot of people, you can send 12,000 emails a month, all for free, and you get full access to their system, all the stuff you need. So I like that. If you're doing high volume of emailing, if you have a list of, I would say, 10,000 or above, maybe 12,000 or above, if you want to slice it finely, MailChimp's definitely not the place to go. You want to go with a very different kind of product, which is a high volume product. And most email marketing platforms offer that, but it's mostly really expensive. If you're in that situation, schedule office hours with me. I'll tell you what we're doing with a couple clients that are in that situation to keep the costs as low as possible. So I can tell you more about that. All right, so some hot tips. Set up well-timed and closely targeted lead nurturing campaigns. That's like what I just showed you with the PMA, where the email goes out day after day after day to your newly converted leads. Use an email marketing platform. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Take advantage of its automation opportunities. MailChimp has videos on how to do it. They have written stuff on how to do it. And if you get stuck, you can call them and they'll tell you how to do it. Or you can ask me and I'll tell you how to do it. Lastly, keep the canned spam laws in mind. We're not going to discuss those. I assume you're pretty familiar with them, but you always get permission before sending a stream of emails. Let's take an example. Does that mean the PMA is violating canned spam laws by sending you a string of emails after you've asked for information on licensing? No. Because you asked for information, you're eligible from the law's point of view to be bombarded with emails. I'm not recommending bombarding, by the way, but from the law's point of view, you're covered. If any of you are working with people who live in Canada, the laws are very different there for email marketing. Be aware of that. You can look up Canada anti-spam in Google and you'll see what the law is. It's quite more, quite tighter than our laws. Okay, well, I haven't seen any questions coming in yet today. So we'll take a moment here. If you have a question, put it in the chat pane and I'll unmute you and we can talk about your question. I'm not seeing any. Wow, either everybody's asleep or I just gave you everything there is to know about this. Okay. Homework this week. So the homework this week is not like last week's where I've said, hey, do this, do that. This is more like, think about this, think about what you've covered today, and look for areas you can make improvements. I'm not expecting that this week you're going to put together a whole advanced email marketing campaign. You might, but I kind of don't think so. So could you do something to make improvements in your emails by following best practices that we've discussed? Or would it make sense to review your email open rate and click-through rate to actually see what they are and see what changes could be made? Or would it make sense to spend a little time writing several new emails to go out to new prospects that answer your top 10 questions? Well, sorry, several new emails that answer your top 10 questions that'll then go out to new prospects. Or does it make sense to spend some time exploring MailChimp or another email automation platform? Or something else. But think about how you can make improvements in your emails this week. Also keep in mind that if you're looking for more contacts, Larkspur is a great place to turn to. And by the way, it's okay to email these Larkspur contacts, even though they are cold contacts for you. Let me explain. Actually, I think I put this in the resources. Just a minute. I did not. I did. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This sixth link right here, why email marketing to cold prospects isn't spam. If you have concern about using Larkspur's email list or a part of their email list, check out this post. It'll tell you exactly how you can do that within the framework of the canned spam law. So it is legal, but you got to understand a few things about it. So that information is there for your consideration. I really recommend all of these articles. These are all really, really excellent. The cold email hacks, again, if you have a list, I don't recommend buying lists normally, but in your industry, that's kind of the norm, so I can go with that. You might as well learn how to do it legally. So cold email hacks will give you some more tips on that. Getting started with marketing automation, a really great article from MailChimp that would apply broadly to any platform you're using. Introduction to Email Marketing from HubSpot is a much deeper dive into the topic. Lots of good information if you're feeling you want more stuff. So that wraps up session number 3. Wow, I talked fast today. Next week, we're going to expand your audience with social media. We're going to look at how to expand your audience quickly, how to showcase your expertise, social networks that you should be using, and those that you shouldn't be using. You do not need to be everywhere. Don't worry about it. And best practices for social media. We're also going to touch on how social media and email marketing work together. It's a great duo. It's kind of like watching a couple do a tango together. They just fit together perfectly. So that's next week's presentation. As always, my office hours are available. You can book me to schedule a time for us to get together. And Scott, I know you've scheduled and canceled. That's fine. Schedule a new time for us to get together if you still want to talk. So there not being any further questions, thank you very much. Have an awesome Labor Day weekend. I'll talk to you next Thursday about social media.